On the 10th of March, 2026, an IRGC Navy official, Mohammed Akbarzad, declared that the Strait of Hormuz was under the complete control of Iran. Hours later, President Trump insisted the strait was safe, but the reality on the water suggested otherwise. Iran began dropping mines into the Strait of Hormuz, a few dozen so far across 4 miles of usable water. This corridor is the vital artery through which 1/5 of the world's crude oil flows. Alongside these mines, Iran deployed explosive drone boats packed with warheads designed to detonate on impact. As of day 12 of Operation Epic Fury, 13 ships have been hit, 6 crew members are dead, and the U.S. Navy has not successfully escorted a single commercial vessel through the waterway. The Strait of Hormuz is functionally shut down, a development that has been largely obscured in mainstream media reports. The shutdown is near total. Major shipping lines, including Maersk, CMA, CGM, and Hapag-Lloyd, have ceased operations in the area. This was not merely by Iranian decree, but because insurance companies, including Lloyd's of London, formally withdrew protection and indemnity coverage. Without insurance, ships do not sail, regardless of the number of naval vessels present. Before this conflict, 138 commercial ships transited the strait every 24 hours. That number has plummeted to nearly zero. 15 million barrels of crude and 4.5 million barrels of refined fuels are now stranded daily. With Iraq and Kuwait lacking pipeline alternatives, their oil is trapped, and storage tanks across the Gulf are reaching capacity. Iran achieved this using less than 1% of its available mine stockpile. Iran's maritime threat is sophisticated and layered, utilizing 5 categories of mines. These range from basic $1,100 contact mines like the Sadaf 001 to the Russian-designed MDM-6, a bottom-influence mine that triggers on the magnetic or pressure signature of a passing ship. Most lethal is the Chinese-origin EM-52, a rocket-propelled rising mine that rests on the seafloor and fires upward at passing vessels. These weapons are designed to defeat modern minesweeping gear. Despite 12 days of airstrikes, the Iranian stockpile remains largely intact. The cost-benefit analysis is staggering. A $25,000 mine can disable a $150 million supertanker or a $1.8 billion Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Historically, naval mines have caused 77% of all American warship casualties since 1950. The challenge is compounded by the fact that the United States Navy decommissioned its last 4 dedicated minesweepers in the Persian Gulf in late 2025. The threat evolved further on March 2nd, when a kamikaze drone boat struck the oil tanker MV Vam off the coast of Oman. This marked Iran's first verified combat kill using maritime drones, a technology pioneered by their Houthi allies and proven by Ukrainian forces in the Black Sea. These drone boats work in tandem with minefields. Mines force ships into predictable, slow-moving channels, making them easy targets for fast surface drones. While the administration claimed the destruction of 16 mine-laying boats, the strikes targeted surface assets, while Iran's primary strength remained hidden. State media recently broadcasted footage of massive underground tunnel complexes carved into the Iranian coastline. These hardened corridors house fast attack boats, cruise missiles, and mines shielded hundreds of meters beneath rock, where they are immune to satellite surveillance and airstrikes. Simultaneously, the skies over the Middle East revealed a new dimension of Iranian capability. Radar systems and satellite feeds confirmed the launch of a new generation of ballistic missiles, featuring significantly improved range and terminal accuracy. For years, Iran's arsenal was seen as powerful, but imprecise. This new demonstration proved that the gap in precision is closing, placing American military infrastructure in Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain, as well as the state of Israel, under direct, precise threat. While Israel possesses advanced missile defense platforms, no system is perfect. A coordinated barrage can saturate defenses, a tactic Iran has integrated into its broader strategic doctrine. This technological leap arrived during a period of maximum regional tension. Iran's axis of resistance, a network including Hezbollah in Lebanon and various factions in Iraq and Syria, is operating at heightened activity levels. From Tehran's perspective, these missile tests serve as a capstone to their message of regional deterrence. Saudi Arabia has watched these developments with deep unease, remembering years of Houthi drone attacks. The new capabilities threaten to destabilize regional security frameworks like the Abraham Accords and complicate Washington's diplomatic efforts. On March 12, 2026, Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference as air raid sirens echoed across central Israel, signaling the 6th missile salvo of the day. Despite projecting strength and discussing the elimination of Iran's leadership, Netanyahu admitted that Iran had buried its capabilities so deep underground that they were becoming immune to attack. This was a startling admission that the military campaign has structural limits. On that same day, Hezbollah launched over 200 rockets from Lebanon in a coordinated strike. A tragic hit on a communal shelter in Beit Shemesh killed 9 civilians after interceptors missed and sirens failed to provide the standard 90-second warning window. This incident highlighted a vulnerability in the very civil protection model Israel's survival doctrine is built upon. The political goal of regime change also appears increasingly out of reach. Netanyahu stated that the fall of the Iranian government depends on the Iranian people rising up, admitting that military action alone cannot ensure that outcome. This aligns with a classified assessment by the U.S. National Intelligence Council, which concluded that neither airstrikes nor a prolonged campaign would likely result in regime change. Following the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in an initial strike, the regime did not fracture. Instead, it consolidated under his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is viewed as even more hardline. From his first defiant statement, Mojtaba reaffirmed that the Strait of Hormuz would remain a primary tool of pressure against the West. The financial and human toll of the conflict is mounting rapidly. The Pentagon confirmed that the first 6 days of operations cost over $11.3 billion. Global energy markets have reacted violently. Brent crude spiked to over $130 per barrel, and American gasoline prices rose 17% in the first 2 weeks. In response, the International Energy Agency announced the largest coordinated release of emergency oil reserves in its history. Iranian strikes have also targeted Gulf state infrastructure, including Qatar's largest liquefied natural gas facilities, causing European gas futures to jump 30%. Beyond the economics, the civilian cost inside Iran is devastating, with reports of thousands killed and dozens of hospitals rendered non-functional. Amidst this chaos, a kill occurred that shouldn't have been possible. The U.S. pulled off a feat using its HIMARS launchers that those weapons aren't supposed to do, sinking Iranian ships using ballistic missiles fired from a launcher only designed for stationary land targets is a signal to the world. The Precision Strike Missile, or PRSM, made its combat debut, providing unrivaled deep strike capability. Evidence suggests the U.S. used an anti-ship variant, likely the Increment 2 version featuring an advanced seeker. This allows HIMARS to hit moving targets at sea from hundreds of miles away. America has proven that it has taken the lead in anti-ship ballistic technology, moving past theoretical capabilities to real-world combat success. This creates a massive problem for Iran's two navies, the Conventional Islamic Republic of Iran Navy and the IRGC's Fast Attack Fleet. Every strike against an Iranian vessel is a step toward breaking Iran's leverage over global energy markets. However, as the military conflict intensified, a diplomatic crisis erupted at the United Nations. 14 nations, including key allies like France, Germany, Japan, and South Korea, walked out during a U.S. presentation on Iran. Iran's foreign minister declared a total rejection of American terms, stating they would not negotiate under a blockade. This diplomatic isolation became a market risk factor, contributing to a massive drop in the Dow Jones. Leaked transcripts revealed a fractured relationship between Washington and its allies. The French president informed the administration that France would withdraw from joint military operations, while the Saudi crown prince noted he was already in talks with Iran to reopen regional dialogue. A crisis meeting in the White House Situation Room further exposed the internal rift. General Charles Brown reported that the blockade was becoming logistically unsustainable and that Iranian strikes were hitting protected targets with increasing accuracy. While political advisors urged doubling down, Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned that the diplomatic problem had become a strategic crisis. Allies were no longer taking calls, and the perception of American isolation encouraged Iran to wait out the conflict. The human and economic reality of the war continued to defy comprehension. Tehran lived under sustained bombardment, while the Fatah II missile rewrote the rules of engagement. With a flight time of just 4 minutes and 20 seconds from Tehran to Tel Aviv, the Fatah II arrives nearly 2 minutes before Israel's warning systems can even complete their alert cycle. It glides through the upper atmosphere at Mach 15, maneuvers laterally to defeat trajectory calculations, and strikes with pinpoint precision. This weapon breaks the fundamental premises of modern missile defense. Every layer, from Iron Dome to David's Sling and Arrow 3, was engineered for a threat profile that the Fatah II simply bypasses. The vice president of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems admitted that trying to intercept a hypersonic missile is like trying to guard LeBron James one-on-one. On Thursday, March 12, 2026, Iran launched 3 consecutive waves of missile strikes, waves 42, 43, and 44, in under 24 hours. The IRGC deployed Khorram-Shar heavy ballistic missiles, Fatah hypersonic systems, and Khaybar-Shekan precision missiles. Sirens screamed across Israel as 79 people were injured in a statement of absolute defiance. These strikes followed reports that Mojtaba Khamenei had been wounded on the first day of the war. Despite his absence from the public eye, the military unleashed its most concentrated barrage yet. The timing of Wave 42 was precise, landing moments after state television aired a loyalty oath to the new supreme leader under the slogan Labeik. Wave 43, titled Severe Punishment, honored fallen commanders and utilized the Khorram-Shar, a 2-ton class warhead traveling at Mach 16. Targets included the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain and the Israeli port cities of Ashdod and Haifa. In Wave 44, the IRGC penetrated deeper into Israeli territory than ever before. Explosions rocked the greater Tel Aviv area. This marked a fundamental shift in firing doctrine. Iran moved from saturating defenses with volume to punishing them with mass. They stopped launching anything with a warhead under 1,000 kilograms. By focusing on heavier impact, Iran turned interception into a physics problem that current technology cannot solve. While U.S. and Israeli forces have struck approximately 6,000 targets inside Iran and damaged 90 naval vessels, Iran's shift to conservation and precision suggests they are rationing for a long war of attrition. They are not a country on its last legs. They are a country dug in for a marathon. The single most important development, however, remains economic. Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and 20% of the world's oil supply is now frozen. Tanker traffic has collapsed to near zero, with over 200 commercial ships stranded. The global maritime industry is in a state of shock. Fertilizer and liquefied natural gas, LNG, supply chains are fracturing, threatening global food security for 8 billion people. When LNG supply is disrupted, fertilizer production slows. When that happens, crop yields fall and food prices rise across every continent. The United Nations World Food Program has warned that this disruption is hitting energy, fertilizer, and container shipping simultaneously, creating an economic emergency of the first order. Brent crude surged past $110 per barrel, with the IRGC promising a spike to $200. This is a tax on the entire global economy, levied without warning. Japan, relying on the strait for 70% of its oil, began emergency drawdowns of its reserves. The IEA released 400 million barrels of crude, a record emergency war response, but it has not been enough to stabilize the markets. Major corporations have evacuated the Gulf, and the Dow Jones has suffered its worst losses in years. The Federal Reserve now faces renewed inflation pressure, just as it hoped to loosen monetary policy. Qatar's energy minister described the situation as a catastrophe, warning of a potential collapse of world economies if the fighting continues. Where does this end? Unlike previous conflicts, this war has no defined scope. The objective of regime change offers no natural basis for ceasefire talks. Mojtaba Khamenei, from his first statement, made it clear that Iran intends to avenge its martyrs and continue the fight indefinitely. The IRGC's plan is to impose sustained economic pain until the political cost of the war becomes unbearable for the West. They are using the Fata II and the Strait of Hormuz as levers to turn global financial markets and energy-importing nations against Washington. The data suggests this strategy is working. The Fata II is not just a missile. It is a signal that the rules of deterrence have changed. The assumption that modern air defense can protect populated centers has been proven incorrect in live combat. The assumption that the Strait of Hormuz would function as a reliable artery regardless of regional conflict has been proven dangerously optimistic. This is no longer just a Middle East story. It is a global crisis. The unipolar moment appears to be ending, not with a bang, but with allies walking away, and a regional power successfully challenging the world's most advanced military architecture. The only question left is whether a diplomatic pathway can be found before the economic damage triggers a permanent global realignment. Understanding this crisis clearly is the first step toward demanding a resolution from those who hold the power to end it. The strategic clocks of all major powers are running in opposite directions, and the longer the gap widens, the harder it becomes to define what victory even means. The world is watching, the pressure is building, and the deadline is counting down.